Chapter 22. Luke stood up and walked to the door. The sun was now shining, and he could hear the sound of a church bell tolling. "Look, Jenny, come over here," he called to his sister. She came, and the swamper followed. The three stepped outside to watch Morgan's funeral procession pass by. "They're going to the train station in Benson," said the swamper. "James, the oldest brother, will take Morgan's body to California, where the rest of the Earp family lives. He'll be buried there." "Will James come back to Tombstone?" asked Luke. "No," said the swamper. "The Earp's time in Tombstone is nearly over. When Wyatt returns from Benson, he'll make arrangements for Virgil and his wife Allie to leave too. It's become much too dangerous for Virgil to stay here any longer." Luke and Jenny suddenly found themselves at a railroad platform. "Where are we now?" asked Luke. "Back in contention," said the swamper. A voice next to them said, "Wyatt, are you sure I can't stay and help?" Luke and Jenny turned to see Virgil Earp with his arm in a sling talking to Wyatt. "I'm all right, Virgil," said a weary-looking Wyatt, "but I have a tough job to do. I have to hunt down whoever murdered Morg, and I can't do it if I have to worry about you." He paused for a moment. "You've done your job here, Virgil. It's time for you and Allie to head on home to California." A man came up to Wyatt and told him that he'd just heard there might be trouble when the train reached Tucson. Ike Clanton, Frank Stillwell, and some of the other cowboys have been hanging around the train station there. They're probably waiting to ambush Virgil. "That's it, then," said Wyatt. He called his brother Warren, Doc Holliday, and his other friends over. He told them what was happening. "We're going along with Virgil to Tucson," he said. "We might as well get on the train, too," said the swamper. Luke and Jenny eagerly got on board. They looked around the plush railroad car as they watched the other passengers board. Soon the train was off. "This is totally cool," exclaimed Luke. "It's even more awesome than the train at Disneyland would have been." They had only been traveling for a short time when the evening fell and the train pulled into the Tucson station. Jenny looked out the window. "This is Tucson?" The swamper nodded his head. "Yep, this is Tucson." "But it's just a dinky little town," said Jenny. "I can't believe this is the same city we drove through this morning on our way to Tombstone. There are a lot of cars on the freeway and skyscrapers in this city, too." "I suppose a town would change a bit after 120 years or so, Jenny," said the swamper. "We've reached our stop. This is where we get off." As they stepped onto the platform, the swamper told them that the Earps had gone to a nearby hotel for dinner, but they would soon return. Luke and Jenny walked around the railroad yard, looking at the village of little adobe buildings that made up Tucson, but it was dark and hard to see. Soon Virgil and Allie and the others were back. Virgil and Allie went back on board the train while the others kept an eye out, looking for troublemakers. "Look over there," exclaimed Luke, pointing to a flat car on a track next to Virgil and Allie's train. He could make out two figures lying on the flat car, and it looked like they had rifles or shotguns pointing at the rail car window where Virgil and his wife were sitting. "I see them," yelled Jenny as she looked around. "Look, Luke, Wyatt just spotted them too. Here he comes, and it looks like he's carrying a shotgun." Wyatt Earp came around the platform and ran at the two men. Luke, Jenny, and the swamper followed close behind. "Jenny!" shouted Luke. "I can't tell for sure, but I think one of those men might be Ike Clanton." The two men saw Wyatt coming and fled. As they ran through the railroad yard, one man fell behind and Wyatt quickly caught up to him. "Frank Stillwell!" he shouted. "I might have known it was you who murdered my brother." Luke and Jenny saw that Frank was shaking. "He must have dropped his gun," said Jenny. "I don't think he's armed anymore." Frank lifted one trembling hand to grab the barrel of Wyatt's shotgun while he raised his other to try to protect his face. "No!" he shouted. "Please, Wyatt, don't kill me. I'm begging." Before he could finish his sentence, Wyatt raised up the shotgun and fired both barrels point blank into Frank Stillwell. He fell on the ground, dead. "Whoa," shouted Luke. "I guess he showed him, huh?" Wyatt turned and ran after the other man who was fleeing across a set of tracks and then behind some moving cars, forcing Wyatt to stop and wait for the train to pass. Once it was gone, so was the other would-be assassin. Wyatt went back to Virgil and Allie's train, which was just about to pull away from the platform. As he looked through the window at Virgil, he shouted, "One for Morgan!" While the train pulled away, the swamper asked, "Now, Luke, what's wrong with this picture?" "I don't understand," replied Luke. "A minute ago, when Wyatt killed Frank Stillwell, you said that Wyatt showed him." "Yeah," said Luke. "What about it? Frank Stillwell killed Morgan, so Wyatt got even and killed him." "That's the point, Luke," said the swamper. "I think I know what the swamper's trying to say," said Jenny as she looked at her brother. "It's because we can't be totally certain that it really was Frank Stillwell who killed Morgan, because the shooters got away and no one got a good look at them." "That's part of the answer, Jenny," said the swamper. "Remember what you two saw in Tombstone? It would have happened about a year or so ago in my time. Remember when Virgil took Wyatt's horse, Dick Naylor, out for a ride, and Constable McKelvey came up to him with Johnny behind the deuce in the back of his wagon? That's right, exclaimed Jenny. The mob was going to hang him for killing a man, but Wyatt stood up to the crowd and told them no, they couldn't do that. He said that it was up to the court to decide if Johnny behind the deuce was guilty or not. And what did you just see Wyatt Earp do? Asked the swamper. He just murdered a man, said Luke. He didn't give Frank Stillwell the chance to go to court and have a trial.